I was just sitting here this morning next to this beautiful pond of water, and I was thinking about my first ever rugby test match experience. It was in 1975 back in Auckland in New Zealand at the famous Eden Park ground, and my father took me along to watch the All Blacks play against Scotland on what was a very, very wet day. In fact, that test match of years afterwards became known as the flooded test because the ground was absolutely soaking in water. In fact, I don't know how they played the game that day. It was extraordinary. But we were sat behind the goalpost right at ground level. It was a fantastic view. I was hooked on international test rugby. I got to see my favourite All Blacks play for the first time. And sometime during the game, it was Brian Williams, the All Black winger, who scored a try right in front of us, and he just slid about 15 metres across the ground to score that try in a huge puddle of water. And I was an absolute hook rugby fan ever since. So there you go, that was my first ever international test match rugby experience on a very wet and soggy Eden Park that day. Why don't you drop me a comment and let me know what your first test match rugby live experience was. I'd love to know from all the people across the world who watch my channel. G'day everyone, and welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. I'm Mark, I'm a Kiwi rugby fan that's living here in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. And today, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my selection for the South African Springboks team to play in the first test against Ireland. That's going to be played at Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria in just over a week's time. We're all getting really excited about this series. It's going to be one of the big ones for this year, that's for sure. So I think going into this selection, one of the things that I had on my mind is where Rassie's head might be at the moment, because none of us really know. But my guess is that he wants to beat Ireland. And I think this is going to be a significant step for the Springboks as world champions, because of course between Rugby World Cups they have lost a couple of games. And I think Rassie wants to bring this new era to South African rugby where they're just as strong between Rugby World Cups as they are during the Cups themselves. And I think this is going to be reflective in his selection for this particular first test against Ireland. And with that in mind, I think we're going to see a lot of experience run out on the park for South Africa. He's named some really interesting players in his squad, and no doubt later on in the season, and I think against games like Portugal, these players are going to get their opportunity to shine. But I think bringing these players in around the main group, the inner circle of the Springbok test team, I think that's going to give them a lot of experience, and that's why I think he's named such a large squad. In addition to that, he's got a whole lot of players on standby, so there's no doubt that the Springboks could put together two teams that could take on Ireland, but we'll see how it goes anyway. So here we go, let's get into my team that I'm selecting. Okay, so let's start off in the back three for the Springboks, and don't forget Mapimpi's injured at the moment, so he wasn't taken into consideration for the selection. So my back three are going to be Willie le Roux, Kurtley Arendse, and on the other wing, Cheslin Kolbe, who's back from injury. So I think Rassie's going to go with the tried and tested in this. Willie le Roux, of course, missed those last games for the Bulls, and he's ready to go again for the Springboks. So that's going to be the back three. Coming into the centres then, on the outside centre, we're going to see Jesse Kriel, brilliant in defence as well as in attack. And they're going to need all his guile to get through the Irish defence, that's for sure. Inside him, we're going to see Damien Dialandi, and I think that centre pairing is going to be the best that the Springboks can put out on this occasion. Don't be surprised if we see Andre Esterhuizen in the game against Portugal, but I think for this one, we're going to see Kriel and Dialandi. And then coming into 9 and 10 combination, I don't think Rassie can go past Faf de Klerk at 9 and Andre Pollard at number 10. Pollard, of course, can win you games from anywhere on the field, and I think he's an important component for this particular strategy to get over top of this Irish team. I think it's going to be a very tight battle, so the Springboks are going to want to get all the points that they possibly can. The other alternatives I don't think have the kicking prowess of Andre Pollard, and that's going to be a big thing in this game. I'm not going to talk a lot about strategy in these particular videos. This is about team selection, and next week as we get closer to the games, I'm going to be putting out preview videos for each of the test matches that are going to be taking place next weekend. So there you go, there's the starting backline that I think is going to take on Ireland next week. And let's have a look at the reserves now that I think Rassie's going to go with. Now, I'm making the assumption that Rassie's going to go for the 6-2 split against Ireland and keep the power of the forwards as his main emphasis when it comes to the bench. So on the bench, now might be an interesting one here for you, but I think we're going to see Sasha Feinberg get a start here. And the reason for that, I think that Manie Libbok's days might be coming to an end with the potential of this Springbok team. And I think if there's any going to be a chance for Rassie to put Sasha in a high pressure situation, it's going to be in this game. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say that, no, Manie Libbok's going to get the start off the bench, but I don't see this as a high risk option for Rassie at all. I think Sasha can do just as well as what Libbok has done previously off the bench, and I think this would be a great opportunity for Rassie to give Sasha that pressure, intense pressure game in a test match like this, but we'll wait and see. And then the other reserve back for me is going to be Lacano Arm, and it's great to see him back in test condition again, and I think he'll be the other back in the 2 substitutions for the back line. So there we go, there's my backs for the South African Springbok team to take on Ireland in the first test in Pretoria. Now let's jump over and have a look at the forward pack I've selected for this game. Now the back 3 for the Springboks forwards are looking interesting because it's going to be a huge position and a great challenge against the Irish, because we know what the Irish are probably going to bring to this game as far as their back 3 goes. So these boys are going to have to be on their mettle. So the back 3 I've selected for the Springboks in this game is at number 8, Jasper Wiese. And then we've got Khaleesi, who's going to be the captain, of course, and Peter Steph du Toit on the other flank. So those 3, I think, are going to start this game, and I think they're going to have a big impact right from the very beginning. Moving on into the locks, and I don't think we can go past Franco Mostert and Ebden Etzebeth, because these 2 guys have proven time and time again for South Africa that they're 2 of the best locks in the world. And they're going to be vitally important in that set piece against Ireland next weekend. Moving into the front row, and wow, does South Africa have a plethora of talent that they can choose from here. But I've decided to go for my starting 3 up front as Oxenchair, and then Malcolm Marx in the middle as hooker, of course, and then Frans Maherba on the other prop. I think that's going to be the way that Rassie goes to start this game. And of course, he's got some huge men that he can bring on in the second half, or as somebody gets injured. Now, where it gets interesting for me is in the substitutes on the bench. And as I said, I think Rassie's going to go with the 6-2 split here for this particular first test match. And my substitutes forwards for the Springboks include Bonami, Trevor Nyankane and Steenkamp. I think that's going to be the front row that comes on in the second half. And then we're going to see R.G. Snyman. We're going to see Marco van Staden, who's playing absolutely fantastic rugby at the moment. And we're going to see Kwagga Smith. That's going to be my substitutes that come on. And there's versatility there in the likes of Kwagga Smith, of course, that can cover several positions, as can Marco van Staden. And as I said, he's playing fantastic rugby. R.G. Snyman, the big Viking beast that will come on, and he can change a game, of course, and help with that set piece of play. So I think this is going to be the bench that starts in the forwards for South Africa. So there we go, that's my selection for the South African Springboks to take on Ireland in the first test at Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria in just over a week's time. Let me know in the comments what you think, and don't forget, next week I'm going to be back with a preview of this test match, and I'll go into a lot more detail around strategy, who I think the key players are going to be, and who's going to win this game, and how it's going to be won. So make sure you check that out. Now, already this week I've made videos about the New Zealand team I've selected to play England, the England team I've selected to play New Zealand. Check those videos out now on the channel. Now, I'm going to be back tomorrow with my Irish team selection, so make sure you come back and check that out. And then we're going to move on to the Wallabies and Wales series in Australia, and I'll be naming my 2 teams for those 2 test matches. So plenty coming up here on Inside Rugby, so stick around. The best way to do that is hit that subscribe button, give this video a bit of a thumbs up as well, and I and YouTube will thank you very much for that one. Okay, I'm going to be back again soon with some more content. Until then, stay safe, stay well everybody, keep enjoying your rugby no matter where you are in the world, and it's time to say adios from beautiful Mexico. Bye for now.